Welcome everyone to NoDQ Live here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRift We are coming off the 2018 Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and I have to say, it was a hell of a show. Definitely a noteworthy pay-per-view. A lot of people talking about the show, and especially the ending. I'm sure it'll be a very interesting review, so thank you to everyone for tuning in, whether it's live or on demand. If you are watching live, please share this video on social media, Facebook, Twitter, any site you can right now. Let's see how many viewers we can get tonight. Let's go ahead and review the show. The first match was on the kickoff, of course, and that was a match that was at first believed to have been a main card match because there was a tournament after all, and WWE spent, 3 weeks in building up to this match with a tournament, only for it to be on the kickoff. Of course, I'm talking about New Day versus Rusev Day. This whole thing is just so silly, this storyline. You have Rusev Day win the tournament, and they get rewarded by being on the kickoff when the arena is still half empty. You still have people filing into their seats, and during this match, you could see a lot of empty seats right there at ringside. The first several rows, you could see tons of empty seats for this match. And of course, the bar, the losers, by the way, they lost the tournament. They're getting the title opportunity at Super Showdown in Australia, where there's going to be, 70, 80,000 people, whatever WWE announces, 100,000, who knows? So yeah, this whole storyline is just a bit silly. Now, the match itself, I thought was entertaining. New Day usually delivers, and Rusev and Aiden English are great too. So this was, in my opinion, a better than average kickoff match. And I felt like it really set the tone for the entire show. I mean, it was a good way to get things going. You had it back and forth with these guys. New Day came out for their pre-match promo. Aiden English came out, and you had New Day making fun of Aiden's clearing his throat. This was fine. This was entertaining. And the match itself, like I said, better than most kickoff matches. Hamp Connor with a $2 Super Chat donation. He says, how awful is Renee on commentary? Thank you, Hamp, for the first Super Chat donation of the night. And by the way, guys, if you are going to leave a Super Chat, please stick to the topic, whatever match I'm on, so we don't go all over the place here. I am going to cover everything tonight, so don't worry. But to answer your question real quickly, I thought Renee Young was fine. Overall, the announcing was just so-so. Didn't really stand out to me one way or another. Although, Michael Cole did say hospital on this show at one point. So, Michael Cole, you're fired for saying hospital instead of local medical facility. But anyways, back to the match. Rusev and English came close, but there was a brief moment of miscommunication. So, I'm not sure if we're going to see the breakup continue with these guys or not, but there was some miscommunication. And Aiden English actually used Rusev's accolade on Kofi. Rusev wanted a tag from Aiden English, but did not get it. And then Kofi ended up pinning English with the Trouble in Paradise. William Losh with a $2 Super Chat donation. Show was good. Cell wasn't used enough, though. B-, says William. Thank you for that, William. I will talk about the Cell matches and how I feel the Cell was utilized on this show. So yeah, New Day, still tag team champions, and those losers, the Bar, get the next title shot in Australia at the Super Showdown in front of 70,000 plus people, whatever WWE announces. So we had the pay-per-view kick off with the first of two Hell in a Cell matches. We had Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy. Of course, this was Jeff Hardy's very first Hell in a Cell match, believe it or not, in his career. And then there was the Cell. For those of you that were on NoDQ.com yesterday or on WWE's page, you saw the Cell being constructed, and yes, it is now red. The Hell in a Cell is now red, like the McDonald's playpen, and I would make fun of TNA's red cage, the Thunderdome or whatever they called it, for the same thing. It looked like a friggin' kid's playpen. So I wasn't really a big fan of the Cell color change. I just feel like it's too cartoonish, and I get it. It's supposed to represent hell. It's supposed to be like blood red, but it just looks so tacky. So I'm on the side of, I didn't like it. I'm on the side of thumbs down for the red Cell. I don't think they should bring it back next time. Just my opinion though. And it really has nothing to do with TNA. It doesn't look good, in my opinion. I know it's nice to try different things, but if it's not broken, don't fix it. I was fine with the Cell the way it was. No need to change it. And it's just too much of a distraction, too busy, whatever you want to say. I just wasn't a big fan of the change. So we had Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy in the first pay-per-view match of the pay-per-view. And this was a really good Hell in a Cell match. I don't think I would put it in my top 5 greatest Hell in a Cell matches of all time, but I think it was really solid. It was very methodical, somewhat slow-paced, but everything was deliberate. Everything in the match served a purpose and felt like it mattered. So in that sense, it was a really strong match, well-constructed, well laid out. You had, of course, the weapons. You had tables and ladders being brought into play. They did throw each other into the cage a bit, but there were a lot of spots that did not involve the cage during this match, which is all right. You know, I would prefer if the Hell in a Cell matches focused on the cage. In this case, you did have some spots with the cage, but not a lot. For me, maybe the highlight of this match was Randy Orton pulling out a box of tools, and he grabbed a screwdriver. And I knew where this was going too, because WWE was building it up for several weeks. Randy Orton going after Jeff Hardy's ear hole where he has his piercing. And yeah, Randy Orton took the screwdriver, stuck it in the ear hole, and then started twisting it. This was great. I love this. I thought that this was a great spot in the match. And we'll remember it. This is something we'll remember a year from now, maybe even several years from now. I liked it a lot. I thought it was one of the highlights of the match and one of the highlights of the show for that matter. You had Jeff Hardy make his comeback though. He used a low blow to get out of that predicament. He used the belt that he had. Orton actually used it on him first, and then Hardy turned the table, not the actual table, but he turned things around. He used the belt on Orton's back, and Orton's back started bleeding. Cool moment here in the match. William Losh with a $2 Super Chat donation. Screwdriver spot was sick. Loving heel Randy Orton. And CS Productions with a $4 Super Chat donation. Thank you for that, CS. I'm surprised Vince allowed the screwdriver spot. A little bit, but at the same time, to me, it's just more about people seeing it as a cringy moment. I mean, it's obviously staged and whatnot. You know, a lot of people are very sensitive about certain parts of the body and, you know, with piercings and twisting the skin around. It's a little disturbing. If you're a really squeamish person, it's going to affect you more than somebody who's not squeamish. So, I mean, it wasn't like it was TVMA or something, but yeah, it is something that's a bit extreme for a PG audience. By the way, we just hit 1,000 viewers. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I had no stipulation though. Sorry, John, I didn't put up any stipulation. I'll tell you what, if we hit 1,200, I will sing Brie Mode tonight on NoDQ Live. But you guys have to share this video and spread the word. Does Brie Mode even have lyrics? If it has lyrics, I will go ahead and sing it complete with lyrics. I don't even know if it does have lyrics, but we need 1,200 for me to do it. Anyways, thank you guys for 1,000. That's pretty awesome. I might hit 1,200 tonight. The night is young. I'm only 5 minutes into this video, actually 10 minutes, and it'll probably go like 15, not 45 minutes more. We got quite a ways to go. I'm still on the first match here, so no way it's only going to be 15 more minutes. It's going to be like another... oh, crap, we're at 1.1. Oh, no, I'm going to have to sing Brie mode. We're so close already. Son of a bitch. I should have done like 4... All right, so anyways, back to the match. I'm sure people will let me know if I hit 1,200. Right now it says 1.1K, so I'm going to be keeping an eye. The finish of the match, so let's talk about this. And by the way, Jeff Hardy hit the Swanton to Orton through a chair, but Orton kicked out of it. So this was back and forth, lots of near falls, lots of big spots in this match. But the finish was Jeff Hardy putting Randy Orton on the table and climbing the ladder. And then in a spot that he did in TNA, he climbed the ladder, and instead of jumping off the ladder, he went even higher and started grabbing the top of the cage. Like I said, this was done in TNA, and in TNA it was successful. He would swing himself on the top of the cage and then drop down. Only this time, and I feel like Orton moved too soon, and Jeff Hardy just fell. Instead of trying to remove himself, he just kept swinging for a second and then dropped. So yeah, I think timing-wise, maybe it was a little off. Maybe Orton should have moved like a second later or even a split second later just to make it a little bit more believable. But still, big spot here. Jeff Hardy crashing and burning through the table. And this was pretty much sold like Jeff Hardy was seriously hurt. You had the referee not even wanting to count out Jeff Hardy. He was more concerned about Hardy getting immediate medical attention. You had the referee having the cage raised, and Orton's like, just make the pin, do your job. And the referee finally, reluctantly, made the 3 count. And afterwards, Jeff Hardy was stretchered out. And Orton's music didn't even play. So I like it in the sense that it kind of felt real. If Orton's music just immediately hit, it would feel very staged. I like the fact that Orton's music did not play right away. So I actually did like this finish. I know some people had mixed feelings about it. The only thing I think would have made it better would have been if Orton moved just a little bit later, so Jeff Hardy didn't look so much like an idiot when he could have moved himself or tried to stop the swinging and get off instead of just falling to the ground and crashing through the table. So maybe it's just nitpicking on my part, but I did enjoy the match. I did enjoy the finish. And time will tell what's going to happen with Jeff Hardy. Is he done for now? It was certainly acted out on television like Jeff Hardy's going to be gone for a while. And they did provide updates during the show. And I believe one update was that Jeff Hardy was at the hospital, by the way, not a local medical facility. I mentioned that earlier. Jeff Hardy was apparently having internal bleeding or something. I don't remember what it was exactly. So yeah, it's looking like Jeff Hardy might be taking some time off to heal up. He has been working injured for a while. So I had a good start to this pay-per-view. I got the kickoff right, got the opening match correctly. 2-0. So far, so good. Where's Bray Wyatt? Bray Wyatt is in limbo right now with Matt Hardy being injured. Bray Wyatt is just in that situation where creative doesn't know what to do with him. But I'll talk about that more at some point. Tony with a $5 super chat donation. Thank you, Tony. NoDQ is the greatest wrestling channel on YouTube. Keep up the great work, Aaron, and the rest of the NoDQ family. You guys rock. No, you rock, Tony. Guys like you make this job awesome, and I really do appreciate the support from all of you guys. So thank you very much, Tony. You're the one that rocks, and all of you rock for tuning in and watching this. By the way, we're down to 850. Wow. So I offered to sing Brie mode, and I lose 50, I lose 150 live viewers. Not sure how that happens, but oh well. I tried, guys. I made the offer. I guess I shouldn't make the offer because I turned off people just the idea of teasing it. I'm almost relieved in a way that I didn't have to do it. Sean says, viewers gone down. You need a big hole in your ear and a fiddle with a screwdriver. Vince says, JD from New York 206 is the best. Well, if he's the best, I'm the second best then. But in my opinion, I'm the best, in my own humble opinion. I am the one without the agenda, although I have no idea what JD says. To be fair, I don't watch other people's channels, so I don't know what he says, but I know in my case, I just tell it like it is. All right, moving on here, and next match we had Charlotte versus Becky Lynch. And this was an interesting match. Not expecting Becky to win. I always bet against, saying for a long time, I'd like to see her win the title, but she always comes up short. So I figured to do the reverse psychology. So I guess it worked. I predicted on paper for Charlotte to retain because I'm like, you know what? I really want Becky to win the title, and she never does. So I'm just going to go with Charlotte and hope it's reverse psychology. And it worked. We have a brand new SmackDown Live Women's Champion. Crowd was mostly behind Becky as expected. There were tons of fans at ringside with I boo the woo signs. And apparently WWE tried to confiscate some of these signs, but apparently somebody made like 100 of them and were passing them out. And when Charlotte came out, you just saw tons of people with those signs in the crowd. So yeah, did not work out the way WWE was hoping. There was a photo on social media of one of the signs by the security. So they did try, but yeah, somebody printed out like 100 of these, and yeah, WWE could not confiscate all of them. But yeah, basically, Charlotte was the babyface and Becky was the heel. Becky was working over Charlotte, working over the arm. But instead of the crowd chanting for Charlotte to make her comeback, the crowd was chanting, "Let's go, Becky." And a little bit of an abrupt ending here where Charlotte went for a spear and all of a sudden Becky countered it and pinned her pretty much out of nowhere. After the match, you had Charlotte wanting a handshake, but Becky was like, no handshake. She held up the title and left, and that was the end of it. So Becky Lynch is your new Raw Women's Champion. The 1 month title run of Charlotte is already over. So yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, but I'm happy for Becky. I'm glad she finally won the title, and instead of just taking the fall and losing the feud and Charlotte moving on to Ronda Rousey, Becky actually is getting the title now and having a run. So yeah, I'm happy for the outcome here. I'm happy with Becky Lynch as champion, and obviously this feud is going to continue. I believe they already have the rematch set. It was announced, for the Super Showdown pay-per-view. Would not shock me if there is a title change at that pay-per-view. All right, let's ban Lucy Mum. I'm not even sure who that is, but yeah, no spamming in the chat room. All right, next up we had the tag team title match, the Raw tag team titles on the line. We had Dolph Record Scratch Ziggler. What the hell? We're down to 550. Am I boring you guys that much? Maybe I do need to call up JD from New York and get him on. Damn, I lost half my viewers already. What the hell happened? Oh well, the review must go on. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre against Seth Rollins and Dean Mother Effin' Ambrose. This was an excellent match. Maybe the best match on the show. What do you guys think in the chat room? Do you guys think that this was the match of the night? I thought it was a hell of a tag team match. I thought it was just outstanding. All four guys were fantastic. But, it's to be expected with these guys. They are always on point. Seth Rollins, he's having a tremendous 2018, and All four guys shined in this match. A nice old school tag team title match where the heels would work over the face, and Dean Ambrose kept trying to get the tag. At one point he almost got it, but McIntyre knocked him off the apron. And another time, the old incident where you have the guy gets the tag, but the referee doesn't see it. So yeah, I really enjoyed this match a lot. The athleticism was just top notch from these guys. Very entertaining. Braden wasn't a big fan of it though. He says, "I disagree. I thought too many false finishes catering to the, quote, smart fans." And interesting line from Renee Young. She had, what did she say? Let me pull up the quote here from Renee Young. So Renee Young, and I quote, "Dean Ambrose looks like he wants a piece of this pie." Yes, that is what Renee Young, Dean Ambrose's wife, said on a live WWE pay-per-view. That was a funny line right there. But anyways, back to the match. Ambrose finally got the hot tag, and lots of roll-ups, lots of near falls here. I love the frog splash on McIntyre. That was a great near fall. And then Rollins went for the Falcon Arrow, only for McIntyre to hit the Claymore to Rollins, and then Ziggler put the one arm on Rollins to score the pinfall. I thought this match was excellent. One of the main roster matches of the year, maybe the best main roster tag team match of the year, and it's up there with the best NXT tag team matches for sure. This was great stuff. I really enjoyed it, and all these guys shined. Moving on here, we had AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe for the WWE Championship, and this was a great match too. This was really hard-hitting, very match. Lots of cool moments. We saw Joe hit a pounce on AJ Styles right out of Monty Brown from TNA's playbook, if you guys remember him. Styles hit an impressive-looking torture rack bomb and then a 450 splash for a couple of near falls. Joe would work over AJ's hamstring in this match, and Joe hit this crazy-ass clothesline onto AJ Styles. So really back and forth between both of these guys. I enjoyed it. It just had a big fight feel to it, and these guys were beating the hell out of each other. And then we had the finish, which I'm sure some people are going to be questioning, and maybe some people like it, maybe some people don't. Again, I'll see what you guys think in the chat room. Joe got the Coquina clutch on Styles, but then Styles into a pinfall victory. And Joe thought he had won the match. He thought AJ Styles tapped out and complained to the referee. AJ Styles knocked Joe out of the ring, and then Joe went back to the locker room. He was irate beyond belief. And then we saw the replay footage, and sure enough, right before the 3 count, AJ Styles did in fact tap out from a different camera angle. Referee didn't see it, and I like the fact that it's referee's decision is final. That has always been the rule in WWE going back for years. Kayfabe Candy Ass says, "I didn't like it, heel justified. Now people are just going to chant, 'You tapped out' at AJ." So Kayfabe Candy Ass wasn't a big fan of it. I actually like it better than what I thought was going to happen, something like a double pin, which I really think is done to death, where you have maybe a ref bump and then a second referee comes out and they do the dual pin, and one referee says Joe won, one referee says AJ won. I thought they were going to do something like that. I figured they would do something to keep the feud going. My issue with this was WWE should not have announced in advance the Super Showdown match. For me, that took away my enjoyment of the match just a little bit. I would have rather had not known that we were going to have a mandatory rematch before this match even took place, because I figured, okay, there's going to be some kind of screwy finish. And I have seen some criticism, people saying that WWE is doing too many screwy finishes with AJ Styles. Alfred with a $5 super chat donation. Hey Aaron, could you please shout out to my brother Nico? He's watching this and he's a big fan. Sure thing. Nico, thank you for watching. I appreciate your viewership and support. And thank you, Alfred, for the super chat donation. I don't like the idea of restarting the match. I grew up on the concept that the referee's decision is final. Sometimes the referee makes a bad call and it is what it is and things happen. In this case, it's the heel getting screwed over, so it does affect the lodging a little bit. John, there's something called Facebook. You can message me on Facebook or tweet me or something with that question. I thought this finish was fine. In the era of the $50 pay-per-view, I think it would have pissed me off. But 2018, you're paying $9.99 a month. I'm fine with this. You keep the feud going, one more pay-per-view. I wasn't expecting Joe to win the title, and I think this was better than doing a double pinfall. And it makes Joe come off like he can beat AJ, which is something else I like too. Joe is not like The Miz, where he wins by a fluke. Joe should be dominating people, and I like the fact that Joe actually had AJ beat, and AJ could in fact lose the title to Joe. So I like the idea of the heel getting some momentum on the babyface, and you're building that up to the next match. AJ has tapped out now, so maybe he will tap out in that next match. That's the psychology here. So I think it was good. I'm sorry, Kayfabe Candy Ass. You're one of my biggest friends and supporters here on the IWC, but I think it was a great finish. Shutterbug fan with a $4 super chat donation. Do you think that they will address AJ tapping on Tuesday? Yes, that is part of the storyline, and they actually did address it later on the show. Paige did bring it up and then announced that the match would happen at Super Showdown, so we're just supposed to pretend that it was not announced on television. Apparently I said Becky won the Raw Women's title instead of the SmackDown. Yeah, I just made a mistake, so yeah, it happens. But you guys know what I'm talking about. We'll see how this goes with the rematch. Apparently it's going to be no DQ. It wasn't really made clear. Paige just said that there will be a winner at the pay-per-view. Wow, we're down to 480 right now. I am really boring people. I went from 1,100, then I said I would do Brie mode with just 100 more, and now we're down to 480. So, yeah, I tried, guys. I guess I should not do that in the future. Just turns people off. The idea of me singing Brie mode is a ratings killer. All right, let's move on here. Next match we had, speaking of Brie mode, we had Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella versus The Miz and Maryse. And what about those outfits? Those were some interesting outfits that The Miz and Maryse were wearing. We had Brie come out to Brie mode, of course, so no way I can give this pay-per-view an A+ now because of Brie mode. For those of you that are not familiar and are maybe watching this for the first time, if Brie mode plays, the rating of the show automatically goes down a notch. I don't care how good the show is. If I hear Brie mode, I take down the rating a notch. So we had Brie Bella come out with her music and then Daniel Bryan. And the story of this match was that Maryse did not want to get in the ring with Brie. Brie wanted to start the match, but Maryse quickly tagged in The Miz. And every time Brie would get tagged in, Maryse would tag out to The Miz. The crowd actually started a coward chant at Maryse at one point. Maryse would interfere. She would break up the yes lock. Brie finally got her hands on Maryse and threw her around the announce table. Both Bryan and Brie hit the dueling yes kicks on Miz and Maryse. But then, out of nowhere pretty much, Maryse countered Brie's roll-up and scored the victory. Miz and Maryse won. I was not expecting this. And I thought for sure Bryan and Brie were winning this match. I thought Maryse would be taking the fall here. But no, Maryse pins Brie. I was definitely surprised by that. I was not expecting it. I'm not really sure what to make of it, but it's fine. You know, this was an entertaining match. Tony with a $2 super chat donation. Ears bleed everywhere when Brie mode plays. TK says the girls should no longer be involved. Save it for the Mixed Match Classic. And Quinto says that was a terrible looking pin. And Sean says Maryse's roll-up counter was worse than Steve Austin on Owen Hart. I'm not sure I would go that far, Sean. I mean, that's quite a savage comment from you. So I guess Sean gets the savage remark of the night so far, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, you have to go back and watch that roll-up. That Steve Austin roll up to Owen Hart after Austin got dumped on his head. This was not as bad as that. I mean, come on now. It was still pretty bad, though. Next up, we had Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss, which was definitely more of a match than I was expecting. I figured it would just be a quick squash match, but Alexa actually got some offense in. She did work over Ronda's ribs, and that was established on Raw, of course. Alexa kicking Ronda in the ribs, and Ronda going into the match with the rib injury, and Alexa would exploit it during this match. You had Alicia Fox and who's the other one? Now I'm forgetting who the other person is. Alicia Fox and Mickie James. Wow. Alicia Fox and Mickie James on the outside interfering. You had Natalya, who was also there at ringside, and she would help even the odds. Alexa did get some offense here and got some heat to the point where the crowd was chanting for Ronda to make her comeback. So crowd was really into this. Ronda did, in fact, make her comeback, and she tapped out Alexa pretty much immediately once she finally got the armbar on. I thought this match was fine. I still wish that Alexa had been built up better because I still never really believed that Alexa Bliss could beat her. But the crowd was into it, and I give WWE credit. I give them credit for putting on a solid performance. The Bryan 0311 says Ronda cannot sell for shit. I disagree. I think Ronda did a really good job selling, and I actually had people messaging me, asking me, was Ronda really hurt on this show? So, yeah, I think Ronda does do a good job. And when people are questioning if she's selling or is she really hurt, then you know she's doing her job. You know she's doing it well. So I think she did sell well in this match. And post-match, she was still selling it. So I thought she did good here. I thought Ronda did good. I enjoyed the match, and I wasn't really expecting much from it, and it turned out to be a good match. I just wish that Alexa had more credibility going in because I really could not buy into the idea that she was going to beat Ronda. Just my take on it, though. Nelson with a $5 super chat donation. Thank you for that, Nelson. Do you like Ronda's unorthodox wrestling style, like that unique powerbomb she did on Bliss? Yeah, I liked it, and I'm glad that she's expanding her moveset. She actually started doing that move over the weekend, and I did post the video on NoDQ. I like the fact that she's doing more moves, and over time she adds to her moveset. I definitely think that that's a positive, and you know, she stands out. You know, I think that she's doing really well for herself. She's exceeding expectations. She just needs a really solid challenger. That's the problem right now. You really don't have anybody who can be matched up against her and be credible. I would have liked to have seen Natalya turn heel on this show, actually. I know I said before maybe they could do a singles match, have Ronda win, and then do the turn, but you need something here, like have like 5 or 6 of the women form a faction to try and run Ronda out of WWE or some kind of storyline like that. Ronda just needs some real opposition, and she needs something where she's in a situation where people could see her losing the title or being run out of the company or something like that. Peter with a $2 super chat donation. Who fights Ronda at Evolution? Nikki Bella? Well, that's the rumor right now. I don't know how I feel about that match, but I'd rather see Ronda versus Natalya as a tribute match to Jim Neidhart. Ronda can win the match, and then Natalya turns heel, maybe at Survivor Series or something like that, and then you have Natalya as a heel versus Ronda for a while before WrestleMania. Anyways, let's move on here to the main event of the evening. Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman with Mick Foley as the special guest referee. Foley, of course, got a huge babyface reaction. Strowman got a big reaction. Roman Reigns was very mixed. Lots of boos, but there were also some cheers. There was one woman who just kept screaming nonstop, and it was really annoying. I don't know who that was, but yeah, that was quite obnoxious. There was just one woman who just kept screaming during this match. It was very annoying. But this was a interesting match. I will say that. I don't know if I match or even a bad match. I know some people have mixed feelings on this one. It was interesting. It was certainly overbooked. I mean, it was definitely a lot of things happening. Not really a straightforward match. Lots of gimmicks. Obviously, Mick Foley is one gimmick as the referee. Foley actually screwed up here. I know some people will blame it on Reigns, but Foley did a 3 count, and Reigns was starting to kick out when Foley hit 3. So I guess you could say Braun Strowman beat Roman Reigns on this show, because I think if you look back at it like frame by frame, I think Foley's hand hit the mat for the 3 count before Reigns lifted his shoulder up. It was really close, though, and it looked like a botch, and it was a botch. I think Foley maybe counted just a little bit too fast. I think Roman's used to the counts being slower in his matches. So, yeah, I mean, that's the downfall to having somebody different there as the guest referee instead of a regular referee. You're going to open yourself up to a spot like this being botched, and it was. I mean, there was basically a 3 count here. And Kayfabe Candy Ass says they never showed a replay. Ma Wrestling says, very disappointing match for me. I expected more from Reigns and Strowman. I mean, they did do some stuff. They used the steel steps. They used chairs. Strowman used the steel steps on Reigns and then said, "Why won't you stay down, you moron?" That was really funny. I liked that line from Strowman. Reigns hit the spear on Strowman through the table, but Strowman kicked out. You had Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler coming out and trying to interfere in this match. And by the way, Reigns kicked out of the running power slam. So both guys were kicking out of each other's big moves, as you would expect of a WWE pay-per-view. You had McIntyre and Ziggler trying to interfere. They tried to get into the cage, but then Rollins and Ambrose made the save. And then you had the two teams fighting each other around the ringside area. And here's the big logic issue I have. So after Reigns speared Strowman through the table and Strowman kicked out, both guys were basically dead. They just laid in the ring and played dead for about 5 minutes, maybe even more than 5 minutes. Somebody should get a timer. I'm really curious to know how long they were just laying in the ring dead. But they were just laying there, not moving at all, and you had the two tag teams fighting. It was really awkward because, these guys would be up within 30 seconds to a minute. They're not going to be lying there for 5 minutes. You had the two tag teams, McIntyre, Ziggler, and then Ambrose and Rollins. They started fighting on the top of the cell for whatever reason. I guess they decided they wanted to risk their lives. I don't know why they decided to start climbing up to the top. Whatever. I mean, Ziggler was trying to escape, but instead of going through the crowd, he decides to climb the cage. Don't ask me why, but, these guys do weird shit. They're fighting on top of the cage. The crowd is loving this. They're chanting, "This is awesome." And I was enjoying it. I will say I was enjoying it, but I'm like, Roman Reigns and Strowman, what's going on with them? They're just lying there in the ring dead. Hashtag Roman sleeping. You had these guys fighting, and then you had a repeat of the, I believe it was Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose from 2014 Hell in a Cell. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Maybe it was 2015. I think, no, it had to be 14, right? I think it was 14. It was the spot where Ambrose and Rollins were on the side of the cage and they knocked each other through the table all the way down. And the same spot here, yeah, it was 2014, where you had Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler trading blows, and then they both fell off the side of the cage and went through the table. And I was a little surprised because instead of just giving the fans the chance to milk this spot for, 15, 20 seconds, like almost immediately after it happened, Brock Lesnar's music hits. That's right. Brock Lesnar is back. The big shock of the night, although it was leaked online before the show. But nonetheless, big surprise here. Going into this pay-per-view, people were not expecting Brock Lesnar to show up. So Brock Lesnar is back with Paul Heyman, and Lesnar proceeded to literally kick the door off of its hinges. He got in the ring. He F5'd both Strowman and Reigns. He beat the crap out of both of them. And Paul Heyman used, I'm not sure what it was, some kind of spray. Maybe it was pepper spray. He maced, basically, Mick Foley in the eyes. And then Lesnar just cleaned house. He used the broken table on everybody. And then he left. And the referee checked on both Reigns and Strowman and called off the match. So for the first time in WWE history, a Hell in a Cell match has ended in a draw. Interesting finish here. Very interesting in my opinion. Was it bad? Was it good? I think it's very subjective. I think there's going to be a lot of different opinions on this. I did not mind it. I know some of you hated it, but when was the last time we saw the main event of a pay-per-view sabotaged? I don't remember the last time. And if this was the $9.99 era, or not the $9.99 era, the traditional pay-per-view era where pay-per-views were $49.99, this would not be a good ending. This is not something I would advise doing. But this was interesting. This was something different where the interference of somebody led to a match being sabotaged and stopped because neither guy could continue. I mean, I would be a hypocrite to hate on this because I've always been the guy that suggested at WrestleMania 17 for the Steve Austin Rock match, my idea all those years ago was for Goldberg to show up, spear both guys, beat up both guys, and the match is called off. The Rock, Steve Austin, they get destroyed by Goldberg, and there's no finish. That's how I would have ended WrestleMania 17 when people ask me. And I've talked about this for years. So I would be a hypocrite to say that this was bad. I did not mind it. I know a lot of people hated it, and maybe in the old era of traditional pay-per-views, this would have been a bad idea. But I think it's gonna draw some interest. People, with Brock Lesnar back now, people are gonna be curious to see what happens next and what's the follow-up. So it's the first time that there's some kind of water cooler buzz coming off of a WWE pay-per-view. So in that sense, I did like it. I know this might be unpopular, but I thought it was an entertaining finish to the pay-per-view. Yeah, the Hell in a Cell match should have a winner, but shit happens sometimes. And this was something nobody was expecting in the storyline. Nelson with a $5 super chat donation. Were you hoping that somebody got powerbombed through the top of the cell like Foley? I was disappointed that it didn't happen. No, because the cell is a lot taller than it used to be, first of all. So if somebody got put through the cage, through the cell to the ring, they would probably die. So I did not want to see that happen. Where are the cats? The cats are sleeping in the other room. So yeah, interesting ending to the show. I wasn't as negative on it as a lot of you. This might shock people, but I thought this was a great pay-per-view. I thought that this was maybe the best main roster pay-per-view of the year. I mean, I don't think, in my opinion, there were no bad matches on this show. I think all the matches were interesting. I thought that some of them were really good, and I thought the tag match was great. So yeah, I mean, it could have been better, but at the same time, it was successful in the sense that it was fun to watch from start to finish, and when it was over, I'm curious to see what happens. So to me, success. Letter grade, I am giving it an A-. I think that this is the first main roster pay-per-view that I'm giving any kind of an A to. And like I said, maybe an A if it wasn't for the Brie mode. But yeah, I'm giving this pay-per-view an A-. Might surprise some people. And you know what? I did that without cheating, without being manipulated by anybody or any poll results. Now I'm NoDQ.com and what pay-per-view. I'm seeing a lot of A's and B's in the chat room, so I think maybe some people didn't like the finish of the ball. They did enjoy it. Let's see here. What did you guys think of the pay-per-view? I'm looking at the poll results now as it loads here. Yeah, I'm looking at A, B+, C, A, A-, B, and A+. Well, mixed review for the show. Look at this. Yes, 45%. No, 41%. So it's barely getting a thumbs up on the NoDQ.com poll. So maybe I'm overrating this show, but I'm sticking with it. A-, slightly above great. You know, I think that this was an excellent show overall. And I'm curious to see where things go from here on Raw and beyond. Brock Lesnar's back. Should be interesting to see where things go. I was not expecting it. I like the surprises, you know. I like seeing something I wasn't expecting on this show. So yeah, A-. And we got the big bump, Ziggler and Ambrose, or no, it was Ziggler and Rollins, excuse me. They took the big bump through the table, so people got that. Yeah, it was overbooked, but it's WWE. They do it a lot. It's been done many times over the years. It was a fun show, so I enjoyed it. So there you have it. My thoughts on the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I say check it out if you haven't watched it. I think it's worth a watch, and I don't say that often for main roster pay-per-views. I think the crowd was pretty good, but it did seem like they were a bit flat at times. TK says Orton versus Hardy was magic. And Curtis Butler says this show was so predictable. I don't recall one person predicting Brock Lesnar was going to show up on this pay-per-view. Just saying, Curtis. Love you, man, but who predicted Brock Lesnar was going to be on this show? And no, Strowman's not getting his briefcase back. That is it. He had his shot. Maybe that Money in the Bank storyline could have been done way better, but overall, I was satisfied with the show. All right, guys, so on that note, I will wrap up this edition of NoDQ Live. Thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate the viewership and support. If this was your first time watching, I hope you'll check out future videos. Subscribe, youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ. I will be back tomorrow night to review Monday Night Raw, and then, of course, on Tuesday night for SmackDown Live. So stay tuned for more NoDQ Live coming up Monday night, Tuesday night, and the season finale of Wrestling Trivia Challenge is coming up. And I'm hoping for a really big challenger for Greg. Getting my fingers crossed. I don't want to announce anybody yet, but there's a good chance we're going to have an epic finale. So stay tuned for that. And on that note, I will see you all next time.